Hello, YouTubers. So here I am again, Maho Shing, speaking with you, sharing his journey and being present. And I think, talk about being present. Being present is one of the most um, basic and fundamental things you can do on your journey, the journey of evolution. Being present means that you are experiencing everything without any kind of resistance. Of course, you're going to be disturbed. You're going to be, and you're going to have full reasons to be unhappy, miserable, and so on and so forth. But remember, that's a state of mind, right? That has nothing to do with the experience that you're going through, the physical experience. Your response is based on a state of mind. And you could have a situation where it's a dire situation, from all practical purposes. It's really messed up and ominous and dangerous. And just the way that you deal with it mentally allows you to go through it smoothly. And that is important. So the whole idea now of being present in a moment and so on and so forth is not just a jargon, a cliche statement. It's one that you recognize that now you're choosing to be in the state of your circumstances without the annoyance, the suffering and the resistance and so on and so forth that you can choose to embrace as you do so. Most of us live in our agony. We find comfort in our agony. We find comfort in it shouldn't be like this. Oh my God, the world is ending, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. That's the default way of dealing with stuff. Excuse me. But there's another way of dealing with stuff. We don't have to deal with it that way. Of course, you can deal with it that way. Some of us can say, this is how I deal with stuff, and I'm going to deal with it that way because that's how I deal with it. Of course, go ahead if that is how you feel happy and feel identifiable with the image of self. If you respond to it in the way that you do. What I'm suggesting is that there is another way of dealing with stuff, and you could look into it and choose. There is a choice. It's not a given. Nothing is a given these days. The reality is not a given because today, as we have seen so clearly, that reality is shifting so quickly. And two friends can be walking in agreement, in total agreement, and then suddenly something happened and that agreement does fall apart. We see it in marriages these days. People are being married. People are falling out of marriage. We see it in friendship. One day you're good friends and suddenly you fall out apart. And, I can say people have evolved, but I can also say that it's energy. There's one thing that we always say. Everything is energy. Everything is energy. And from the skies to the celestial heights, to the earth beneath your feet, to the subatomic level, everything is energy. And most of the time, it really depends on at what level you are dealing with that energy. Do you choose to deal with that energy in agony and resistance? Or are you dealing with that energy with understanding and deliberate intent? Deliberate intent is very important. Deliberate intent. Now, most of the times we are limited in how we can deal with energy because we do not know the context of energy. So the idea of deliberate intent means that you have to disengage your traditional emotions as you deal with certain things and relax. That is why meditation and prayer are so important, right? Meditation and prayer, some people think that you're going to be holy when you pray and holy when you meditate and all of that. That's not the case. Meditation and prayer is about shifting your energy stream. It's about putting yourself in a state of pliability, neutrality, so to speak, where, let's compare it to a car. So you're driving at 50 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour, and 100 miles an hour, right? You think you can reverse that car with the next gear shift? No, you can't. You'll destroy the engine, totally destroy it. You create an explosion, right? But if you slow down, stop the car, and then shift the car into reverse, you see where I'm going with this? Do you see where I'm going with this? It's about coming to that point. That's what meditation is. It's coming to that place of stillness, right? Prayer coming to that place. And you have to be very careful. Prayer is a different thing. And we want to talk about prayer in a different format. When deal with prayer by itself, right? But for now, we just focus on the whole idea of energy. So you stop, you slow down, you stop, and then you reverse. That's how we deal with stuff. So that is what the whole idea of meditation about. Dealing with energy, dealing with stillness, dealing with pliability, dealing with non-resistance. That's what, these are just words we use to describe a state, And for some people, you can use one word and they understand everything. Some people, you have to use different words and you have to spend a lot of time and to explain to them, because what they have riveted in their mind is one thing. One thing is riveted. And when they say they don't understand because they're coming off a presupposition, an assumption in which it's hard for them. It's like putting themselves on a high shelf. You can't come down off of the high shelf. We have put ourselves on a mental high shelf that is hard for us to come down to transit and navigate a new experience. So the whole idea of understanding is a far-fetched thing for them, a far concept, because whether by virtue of their intellect or religion or their scientific mind or their religious mind, is the same thing, right? So, we meditate, we calm ourselves, we become still, and then we can shift into another energy. The whole idea of shifting. You hear people talk about energy shift? Yeah. That is what they are alluding to, right? You cannot know this outside of a personal reference, and only you can undertake that. Everything else will become academic to some extent. So, yeah, that's energy, that's shifting, that's meditation, and a little bit on prayer. And we will follow through on some of these concepts. I've decided to put out a number of these videos, and I'm going to be doing it more regularly. And hopefully they'll make a connection. Remember, I'm not selling anything. All right, you don't have to believe me. I'm not asking anybody to believe me. Just like my writing, for those of you who know me, I write on Facebook. And I'm not asking anybody to agree with me or to believe me or anything like that. I'm just putting stuff out there, stuff that is close to my heart. And if it makes sense to you and if it's usable to you, then fine. If not, that's fine too. I personally believe that we're in a state of transition, and that those of us are put here to serve a certain purpose. And if my purpose, the only useful purpose I serve is to be a conduit for change, then that is a life well worth living. I look at the stuff that I do. What I do kitchen and bathroom renovation. I paint. I do all of these things. I build stuff. I create stuff, and I plant landscapes and all of that. But that's not the main thing. I think the main thing is when you can become a catalyst for some greater and higher purpose. And I'm not religious. It's not about being religious or anything like that. It's about a conduit to my fellow human beings. I will talk some more about that. There's other things we will go into from time to time. You are good.